What is this big antique chest? Apparently it's been in my family for generations, but no one in the family knows how and where it exactly came from. It's made from dark black wood, and I believe ivory. The panels are etched and decorated, and inside are numerous drawers. The chest contains a bunch of very old books. The oldest one is from the 1690s, and some other random items such as German, British, and Canadian military medals, and carved ivory smoking pipes. What is this thing? It's a 17th century German display cabinet known as a cabinetschrank or a cabinet cupboard, circa 1650. A similar cabinet is preserved at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. This type of furniture is sometimes called a cabinet of curiosities or wonders. By about 1600, Augsburg in Germany was already the center of the production of cabinets, mostly in ebony and more rarely in ivory, mounted with silver or gilt brass, enamel and semi-precious stones. Because these cabinets were made from precious materials and assembled with such skill, they were regarded as fit for princes and noblemen and served as diplomatic gifts. I inherited this old clock from my Polish grandfather, and I have no idea where it's from or how old. It's still working, and there's a tiny little key in the back to wind it. Any thoughts on what the carving and the inscription mean? It's a clock made in Quimper, France by Paul Foulon during the 1930s Art Deco period, and the base says Quimper Deposé. The pyrographic hand-painted decor depicts a Breton in a traditional costume. It's a sweet little clock. What is this thing found at an old lead mine in Ireland? I found it at the miners' ruins in Glendalough Park in Ireland, but didn't see anything about it in the guidebook or the signposts nearby. There was no other machinery like it in the area as far as we could tell. Any ideas? That's the remains of an ore crusher in the miners' village at Glendalough, Wicklow, Ireland, called the Cornish Rolls Crusher, manufactured by John Mills of the railway foundry in Llanidloes, Wales in the 1880s. This was the finest crusher of its type in Ireland, but it is not known whether this crusher was supplied directly, or if it was moved from elsewhere, or purchased second-hand, as the Mills crusher was obviously working when Collins visited the plant in 1917. What is this weird old clock thing from a house clearance? Apparently it used to have a glass case, but that got broken many years ago. Any ideas? It's a pulsonetic bell ringer made by gents of Leicester, England in the 1950s. This device could be used to ring electric bells and sound factory sirens. It was commonly used in schools to mark the beginning and end of classes. By removing the human element, classes or other regular events could be timed, almost to the second, almost indefinitely. Moreover, the bells would ring simultaneously throughout the entire school without human intervention. What is this large wooden roller found in an old estate? I found this among other antiques in the basement of an old estate I'm cleaning out. The former residents were collectors. I'm assuming a roller of some kind, but for what? It's solid wood, very heavy, and has light bridges that suggest it either rolled over something uneven or was carved by something uneven. Any idea what this is? It's one of two rollers from an antique clothes wringer. The clothes would be passed between the two, squeezing out the excess water. They used to be very popular, but declined between the 1960s and 1980s, along with the use of thick woolens which they were best at handling. They were also called mangle wranglers or clothes wranglers, particularly in Britain. What is this old billiard-style game? It folds up and is portable, and it seems very old. It has no balls with it, and I found it in a flea market. Any ideas? It's a Victorian portable bagatelle table, circa 1880. It's a game similar to billiards and has been played in pubs and homes in the UK for over 2 centuries. It's a game in which small balls are hit and then allowed to roll down a sloping board on which there are holes, each numbered with the score achieved if a ball goes into it, with pins acting as obstructions. What is this old cast iron farming equipment with very sharp spikes on one end found in a rural area? It's made from iron and is rusting, but not rusting as much as you might expect something this old to be. The spikes on the left side are all still very sharp and look like they could cut grass. What is this thing? It's a horse-drawn sickle bar mower from the 1860s. It is used for cutting hay, and it has only been in popular use since shortly after the US Civil War. The top bar moves laterally across the stationary bottom bar like barber shears. My grandfather had one. What is this very old thing, probably made of pewter, from Trier, Germany? It's not spring-loaded, and there are no moving parts to it. It's basically a mold. I have researched in books specializing in medieval European hardware and googled terms like pewter key, ratchet key, and Trier ratchet key to no avail. There are no moving parts on it. The gear is just a decorative mold. What is it? It's a miniature of a wagon jack from the early 1800s, specifically the Conestoga type. Since the little gear lock is non-functional, this could be a salesman sample of a jack. Salesmen carried around miniature samples of any and everything. What is this very old, possibly Germanic musical instrument? This instrument has been in our family for at least 50 years now. Most of the stickers have peeled off, so it is impossible to identify from that. Can anyone help me figure out this old family relic? It's an American art guitar, made by American Music Company in Kansas City, Missouri in the 1920s. It's a very unusual instrument that has two separate sets of strings. There is a pin block on each end and two sound holes. The right side is marked for chords, and the left side is marked for melody notes. What are these things found in an old downtown building in Indianapolis? They are solid stones, approximately 6 inches by 8 inches, and some of them have writing on both sides. Any ideas? They are antique lithographic stones. Lithography was invented and developed in Germany in the early 19th century. The stones are made from limestone, and the stone surface is ground down to a fine grain, using different grades of grit and a bit of elbow grease. The image is painted into the stone with a special oil. The ink is then applied to the stones and wiped off. It only sticks to the print areas. A rubber blanket is rolled across the stones, making a negative image, and then printed onto a sheet of paper. It's similar to the process they use today with a photo played onto a rubber blanket and then onto the paper. What is this thing I saw in a warehouse with other old office machines? And it does not have a description with it. The keyboard on the right has the numbers 1 to 9 10 times, but no zeros. There is no paper insert that I could find. Any ideas? Please tell us in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.